What's happening everyone, TomGorian here and welcome to episode 12. Well, it should be episode 13, but it's episode 12 of the F1 23 Haas to Glory. This is it, the final 3 races left of season 1 of the Haas to Glory. We're here in Brazil for the Brazilian Grand Prix. And this should be episode 13, but it's episode 12 because Sony Vegas once again was an absolute dick. So, long story short, the video was fully edited and Sony Vegas only rendered 12 out of the 24 minutes that I edited. And I couldn't redo the video because I deleted the footage. So that's my fault, I'm sorry, you missed out on a great video. But this video is even better than Qatar. So to catch up, we won in Qatar, we just beat Lewis Hamilton to the line. And now the gap between us and Max Verstappen is 21 points as we head towards the last 3 races of this epic season. So we're here in Brazil. And before we get this video started, make sure to like, share, comment and subscribe for more F1 23 videos, including next season's Haas to Glory and other series revolving this game. And this season has been a lot of fun to do with the races and stuff, and this race is, well, how would Seamus describe it? Oh yeah, that's right. This race is a banger, and you'll see why later on in the video, so stick around for that and also subscribe to the channel for more F1 23 content. So let's talk about this. So we got a chassis department in the last race. Well, in the unseen race we had a chassis department event and we actually listened to the chassis, and that's given the chassis morale a 10% increase in morale, so that's always good, which means discounts are going to be much cheaper and upgrades are going to be slightly more faster. So we are now at the stage where we have to make a decision. We are either going to try and save all of our parts for next season, or we're going to focus on performance, but we're going to save our parts. We're going to do this simply because if we just go for performance, then we're not going to be saving any parts and we're not going to have a basis to just start from for the next season. However, as you can see, this question, recent seasons have witnessed some of the closest rivalries the sport has ever seen. Which driver do you get the most enjoyment from finishing ahead of? And because I've finished ahead of Sergio Perez more than I have Leclerc and Verstappen, I have chosen Sergio Perez as my rival, as the final rival for season number 1. So the car development is actually really close when it comes to the performance of the cars between us, Mercedes, Aston Martin and Ferrari, and even Red Bull as well. Ferrari really fell off in the last 2-3 races as far as car development, as you can see. And as we roll through into this, into the timeline, the weekly resources, and at this point, we're just trying to save all of our parts. For right now, as you can see, we just about have enough for the chassis upgrades, but we're actually going to start trying to do the tyre wear upgrades. We're going to try and save all of the chassis, and then once we've done the chassis upgrades to save, we can then focus on the aerodynamics. I don't think we're going to save all of them because we don't have enough time, unfortunately, but this is it, the 3rd to last race of the season, and yeah, this is going to be a sprint race, so yeah, let's get into the race. But before we do, let's get into qualifying first for the Brazilian Grand Prix race. And yeah, so this qualifying went like Monza, where the AI were really quick. And as you can see, starting off first, well, ending our first lap here in Sao Paulo. And as you can see, we're going to cross the line and we're going to do a 1 minute 8.8, which is only good enough for 17th place. And by the way, I haven't like changed the difficulty, I haven't upped the difficulty, it's still on 105, so literally this is the same difficulty that we've literally been doing for the entire series, ever since probably Belgium. So obviously the AI have been patched so that they are quicker, anything over 100, and they have been patched so that they are quicker on tracks like this. But yeah, it just seems like the AI and Cody's, they can't really find a balance on how the AI should be, how quick they should be on certain circuits, on certain difficulties. So, starting this lap, we need to find 8 temps, which we're not going to find in this lap, post-com. But look, if we can try and somehow get an 8.3 or even an 8.4, then that's all I'm asking for. If we can get like 14th or 13th at least, that's something. But at this stage of time, we're not really competing for the championship, are we? We're not really trying to compete. We're just trying to see, how good we can be in the final three races of this season. But as we end this lap's actually been decent, and because of that exit, we actually gain some more time. We gain 3 thousandths of a second, but we're starting to lose all our time again on the straight. So here we go, across the line, and we're going to do a 1 minute 8.4, which is going to put us in its 14th place. For a normal race, that's disastrous. But because this is a sprint weekend, anything can happen. And just like in Monza, we started from last and we finished second. So this is a sprint race, so anything can happen. And we're going to feel very optimistic for this race. So without further ado, let's do the sprint.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Magnussen, Thomas, Joe, Bottas, Albon, Tsunoda, Sargent, and Nick de Vries.
Sprint time here in Sao Paulo, and obviously because it's 12 laps, we are going to start on the soft tyres. It doesn't make sense to start on the mediums. Yes, the wear is better at the second half of the sprint, but simply because of just the overall performance of the softs versus the mediums, we're going to start on the softs. And as you can see, there's confirmation that all of the other drivers are going to start on the soft tyres. And yeah, there's not really anything to worry about. All we need to do is just finish in the points today, and yeah, we should get a good position for the race.
The formation lap gets underway ahead of today's sprint. It's going to be interesting to see who gets pole position. We're almost ready to start the sprint as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
I believe this is the final sprint race of this season, so we are now officially at the end game of Season 1 of the F1 23 Haas to Glory. We've got a teammate actually next to us, which is quite surprising, considering that he hasn't done much of anything this season so far. So we are near the back, well, we're in the midfield, pretty much. But as you can see, we're getting ready for the Brazilian Grand Prix for 5 red lights. And away we go in Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's a tentative start for Magnussen. We get a decent start, so we're going to go down the inside of Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, also Oscar Piastri as we enter turn 1. Bit of wheel banging there as we enter turn 2. Contact with Lance Stroll, but we're already into 10th place. As we exit turn 3, I'm going to try and get a run on Pierre Gasly as we head towards turn 4. Is there a gap there? Yes, there is. Down the inside we go of the Alpine driver. He's going to slightly fight back, but we do take the position here in Brazil, and we've got to be aggressive in towards turn 1 because we don't know where Verstappen is. He could be literally in the lead right now. And if you know Verstappen, as we go down the inside of both Charles Leclerc and Fernando Alonso, a double overtake in one corner, we are already starting to be really aggressive as we end the first lap, as we're going to dive down the inside of Carlos Sainz in towards turn 1. We are not messing around today. We started 14th, but look, we cannot afford to be messing around in this series. We might actually become Drivers' World Champion if luck goes our way. Lando Norris sets the fast lap as we've got a yellow flag somewhere. Down the inside we go on Sergio Perez. That's unexpected. And as you can see, there's Max Verstappen in 4th place. And we've now, in the space of 3 laps, closed the gap from, 14th to 4th, pretty much, or 5th place, in the space of 4 laps. And as you can see, there's a yellow flag there. I don't know who that is. I believe that is Esteban Ocon there, as Sergio Perez does get past us. But yeah, now you're going to see something really funny entering this corner right here. And there's a massive pile-up. George Russell has spun, and the 2 Red Bulls have crashed into him. Verstappen and Perez have held onto him. Here's a replay. George Russell just loses the back end, and he blocks Verstappen. We nearly collide in towards Sergio Perez, and then that just creates a massive train at the back. As you can see, both Ferraris, both Aston Martins there, and that's just plain weird. And as you can see, for the first time this series, there's a red flag. A very interesting turn of developments in this race.
This is essentially a free stop, so let's think very carefully about our strategy for the rest of this race.
It's not even a rest of the race. It's just, it's a time period. We're going to start, obviously, on fresh softs for the remainder of this sprint race, but that's very interesting. The first ever red flag that we have on this series is in the sprint race. Anyway, here we go, getting ready for 5 red lights again for the sprint race restart, and it is lights out and away we go for the restart. We've got 4 laps to go. It's a good start by us as we jump Lewis Hamilton already, and we're into 2nd place, and Lando Norris has taken the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. I will be honest right here, right now. The McLaren's pace of Lando Norris this weekend has been quick, and he's been probably the fastest guy all weekend as far as, the championship contenders, as far as Perez, Verstappen, us, Leclerc. There's a yellow flag somewhere, and I believe, I don't know, someone's crashed on the exit of turn 1. I believe that's, is that Lance Stroll? I'm not really sure, but there was no safety car that came out, and nothing really happened after that. But as you can see, coming in towards the final corner, Lando Norris is going to win the Brazilian Grand Prix, but however, we've got bigger problems. Lewis Hamilton is all over us, and this could be a repeat of the last race, as Hamilton's going to get slipstream plus the DRS. We're going to try and cover the inside line, and it's 2nd place.
Welcome to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the final corner, and just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil, is a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour, if of course the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Thomas, Perez, Sainz, Magnussen, Stroll, De Vries, Russell, Verstappen, Joe, Sargent, Bottas, Gasly, Albon, Ocon, Tsunoda, and Oscar Piastri. Now it lights out just moments away. It's time to go down to the track. It's an absolute pleasure to be joined once again by Anthony Davidson. Joined once again by former Formula One driver Anthony Davidson. And they've had a lot of on-track incidents recently that could leave them low on confidence.
It's not an ideal situation by any means. When you get into a bad run like that, there's always a risk of frustration creeping in, which can cause more mistakes and locks you into this vicious cycle. Hopefully today they can get through turn 1 cleanly and stay calm for the rest of the race.
So usually Brazil is the race where a lot of the drivers do take grid penalties, and because we qualified in 14th, we decided to take a grid penalty. I believe it was a new unit or a new ICE for this race. It was on like 62%, so we've had to take a new one, and that's put us 5 places or 3 places down, whatever. But we're starting P5 today, and it's a very, very good position. This setup that I'm running, it's not really an official, like, actual setup. I've just literally copied a Belgium setup, and I've made some tweaks to the car for the career mode. But as you can see, Perez and Verstappen are starting on the hard tyres, while most of the grid are on the mediums or on the softs. So, again, in this game, it's a different mix of tyre strategies for this race.
The formation lap gets underway then, and it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tyres. So as all the cars reform the grid, the drivers will be hoping to get a strong start. They'll want to earn some valuable points from today's race, with final communications being done with their race engineers, ensuring their planned strategies are all in place.
So here we go. Hold on to your hats for a banger of a race. Today, it's the third to last race of the F1 23 Has to Glory Season 1 for Brazil. We have took this car from a midfield struggling car to a potential world championship winning car, and we could take a massive leap today in this race for 5 red lights. And away we go in Brazil for the main race. It's a good start from us. Alonso and Hamilton don't get a good start. Lando does, as we're going to be 3 wide, in towards turn 1, and we are in second place in the first lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix. That's a brilliant start from us, and Verstappen is literally behind us. That's the perfect start that we needed, because Hamilton, Leclerc, are all on mediums, and also with Norris, Alonso, they're on soft, so their tyres are going to be faded out. But the one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to be battling and lose too much time towards Lando Norris. As you can see, Hamilton is already having a crack, and it's clear that with these, with the setups that the AI do run, they always run lower downforce. I personally think that higher downforce is the meta in this game as far as setups are concerned, but when you're facing the AI, you always have to watch out for them, especially on main straights, which is why, drag reduction and engine power upgrades are very essential. And plus, if you have more downforce upgrades, you can run less swing in the race. So that's very important. So watch out for Charles Leclerc in this race, because something happens to him. Now, obviously, we both have the Ferrari engine, so we're going to be quite similar on engine power and engine speed. As you can see, Leclerc goes around the outside, doesn't work, but we are losing around about 2-3 tenths to Lando Norris in this race. So I have to make a choice here as far as either, just fight Charles Leclerc and lose time to Lando, or let go of Charles and try and work with him with DRS. I go with the latter, and I literally let him go in hopes of trying to close the gap to Lando Norris, because Lando is on softs, and the tyre difference in this game is quite mental, especially the difference between mediums and softs as the wear goes on. And as you can see right there, just from lap 6 to probably lap 8, I'm using the DRS to tow me along, and as you can see, we've closed the gap to Lando Norris to pretty much 2 seconds, to the point where now Charles was holding us up. Ferrari have really dropped off to the point where they're now, with McLaren and Aston Martin out developing them, they're now the fifth best car, and Charles is in the fight for the drivers. So Ferrari need to really do something if they want to try and get Charles over the line to win the drivers. But as we enter lap 11, there's a safety car in this race, and we was under a second behind Lando Norris. We was literally going to get the DRS until a safety car came out, and that's changed everything. And there's the cause of the safety car. I think that's Pierre Gasly in the Aston Martin, as Daniel Ricciardo would say. Pierre Gasly, I think he lost the back end just like George Russell did in the sprint race. And Pierre Gasly has to box in 4 new tyres. Everyone's going to box in now. But where is Lando going to be? Because all the cars are going to box in. So we could actually either take the lead or not take the lead. As you can see, Magnussen stayed out. We've been held, and we just about to come out ahead of Charles Leclerc, but Charles Leclerc is out on softs. That's very weird. And as you can see, there's all the strategies. Most of them, Perez, Sainz, Verstappen, and Leclerc, have boxed for softs, but us, Lando, Hamilton, and Alonso are on hards. So that's kind of weird. So very interesting strategies. I think some of the AI are expecting a second safety car. I'm not expecting a second safety car. I'm trying to go to the end either way. But as you can see, we are now preparing for green flag running. We're going again. And as you can see, we have a great run in towards up the hill. We're going to go wheel to wheel. It's side by side with us and Lando Norris around the outside. We go in towards 10-1. We bang wheels. We take the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. We acted very, very quickly on there. And that's a very decent overtake. I will be honest with you. I really actually love that overtake. It kind of reminded me of Verstappen's overtake on Hamilton back a couple of years ago on the safety car restart, as the DRS is enabled on lap 18. I really love that overtake. It's just the pure instinct of the safety car restart. We have a great run, and we went around the outside of Lando Norris. As you can see, there's Charles Leclerc. He's on the soft tyres, so it doesn't make sense for us to fight him. He's on the softs. He has to stop one more time, because there's no way that you can take softs around here at least 20 laps. No way. So we're going to re-overtake the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and we're back into the lead of this Brazilian Grand Prix with 15 laps to go. So here's the funny thing right now. So as you notice, we're in the lead, and Charles Leclerc is now going to box. There he goes. He's boxing. He's going to box with the hard tyres. Now, pay attention to the position dash. He's in the box, and as you can see, there's the map right there. He is now last. That Ferrari is last. However, look at the position radar. He's 20 seconds behind, but he's still 5th. Codemasters, EA, explain that one, please. Because as you can see, there's the dot right there, but that's Carlos. That's Carlos, and coming in towards the hairpin, that's Charles Leclerc. But as you can see right now on the race director, Charles Leclerc is still 5th. That's very weird favoritism, EA, Codemasters. You guys want to explain something here as Hamilton takes the lead once again, but that's some cheese. How the hell has Charles Leclerc made a second stop and he's still in 5th place, but he is still last? And as you can see, look at the gap between the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll to, I believe that's a Williams or an Alpine, of Ocon entering turn 1 as we go down the inside of Lewis Hamilton in towards turn 4. And there it is. We've overtaken Hamilton and we're back into the lead of this race. So now, this race is now a 4-horse race between myself, Hamilton, Alonso, and Norris. Don't pay attention to Charles Leclerc. He's last in this race as Hamilton goes down the inside, and Hamilton retakes the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix with 7 laps to go. And we're just playing chicken with the DRS. We're trying to overtake each other, not really lose any time towards the drivers behind, as we do a mega switchback on Hamilton as we sweep around the outside. We're still side by side between us and Lewis Hamilton going in towards Sector 2, the double right-hander, but we have the inside line. And as you can see, Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin, he's in 2nd place. Alonso in 2nd. Alonso has actually been nowhere this season compared to real life. And that's the one thing I found really interesting. Now, the difference between this series and real life is that Alonso hasn't been anywhere, and actually here comes Fernando Alonso. He's going to go down the inside in towards turn 1, and I think Fernando's going to take the lead. No, he's not. We have the inside line, and all is secure on the exit, and there's a virtual safety car. There's a virtual safety car. What the hell's happened? And that is Yuki Tsunoda. Yep, number 22, Yuki Tsunoda has spun. He's done a George Russell, and he's also done an Esteban Ocon, and he's lost it coming in towards turn 9 Is it turn 9, 5, 6, 7, 8? No, turn 9 or turn 10. Probably turn 10. So, back on the way for racing speed action. Here in Brazil, we've got literally 3 laps to go. And if we can win this race, we will take the championship lead heading in towards Las Vegas. But Fernando doesn't care about the championship. He's not involved. He just wants his first win for Aston Martin, and he's really close. We're trying to use all of our overtake, but Hamilton's following Alonso. It's going to be 3 wide between us, Alonso, and Hamilton. In towards 10-1 we go. 3 wide. Hamilton's on the outside. He has to back out. Alonso's still there, and Hamilton's been bumped. Hamilton's been bobbed by Lando Norris, and now Norris is into P4, well P3, but here comes Alonso with the DRS. Fernando Alonso takes the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix with 3 laps to go. Alonso, the opportunistic, takes the lead, and now we have to try and somehow find a way to win. This is all about positioning and timing. We've got 65% of ERS, and we're going to drain it all of our battery, exiting the final corner. But as you can see, Alonso gets a better exit, and we are nowhere near. We're nowhere near. Fernando Alonso wins the Brazilian Grand Prix, takes his first victory for Aston Martin, but we get another podium.
Yes, nice work, mate. You did a really good job today. Pretty sure the boss is going to be happy with that one.
We've witnessed some great battles around the historic curves of Interlagos today, and they've taken a fantastic win. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
It's time to present the top drivers with their trophies for today's Grand Prix. There are a lot of people in the paddock very happy with this result. It's Aston Martin on the top step.
I'm honestly sure that when Formula 1 fans found out that Fernando was joining Aston Martin, that Aston Martin were going to be, back markers, just like they were last season. But with Fernando getting podiums in real life, and now he's took his first win of the season in Brazil, maybe this is an omen for real life. I mean, I know Red Bull are dominating and all that, and I don't think, Aston Martin are going to make massive strides in towards the second half of the season. But Fernando Alonso returns to the top step on the podium for the first time since 2013. 10 years in the making, and the wait is over. But as far as the World Championship is concerned, we scored 25 points compared to Verstappen's 6. We scored, 19 points more? And look at the gap. 2 whole points between us and Verstappen with 2 races to go. And also Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, and maybe even Carlos Sainz is in the mix. With Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi, it's literally anyone's to win as we head in towards Las Vegas in the next race. This championship is really heating up, and now we could take the lead in the World Championship if we score more points than Verstappen. But that's that for episode 12 of the Has to Glory. If you did enjoy this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 23 career mode Has to Glory and just more casual F1 23 gameplay in general. That was a banger of a race. I'm looking forward towards Las Vegas. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. In a bit.